feeds, visit the Norml Audio Video Department at norml.org/AV. Good day, tokers and tokettes. Radical Russ here at Roller Day Studios in beautiful Potland, Oregon, where it's Friday, January 20th, 2012, and we're getting ready for another excellent Norml Show Live taking place at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. On today's show, I am so excited to have as our guest Harvard Emeritus, the father of the modern medical marijuana movement, Dr. Lester Grinspoon will be joining us for a special extended interview. We're going to get his opinions on the direction of the medical marijuana movement, the need to legalize, and what he thinks of the latest developments and attempts in the medical marijuana states to expand those programs. So you'll want to check that out. Coming up next week on the Norml Network, we got all sorts of great stuff coming up. Dr. Michael Reznicek is going to talk about the disease model of addiction and how that's preventing us from getting the legalization that we all deserve. We've got Emil Visser from Norml South Africa will be stopping in. Joseph Phillips from West Virginia to talk about changing the laws there in that state. We've also got Todd's Toker Topics, Dr. Mitch Earlywine, and from LEAP, another drug warrior, former drug warrior, telling us his perspective, and Danny Danko in Cultivator's Corner. That's coming next week. Later tonight on the Norml Network, you'll want to check out all the great Norml Network shows that we've got. At 8 o'clock, we've got another live edition of Norml Rocks with Herb Thrasher, plus our regularly scheduled podcasts that we play on Fridays, Hemp Radio from Orange County, and THC The Highcast from Illinois. It's right here on the Norml Network. Stay tuned. Make sure you stay for the second hour of Toker Talk Radio, where we take your calls at 971-533-7111. And thank you for setting your browser to live.norml.org and the Norml Network.
The following program, Norml Show Live, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate for the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate or encourage any illegal activity and advise all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws by visiting norml.org, NORML.org. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers of Norml Show Live are their own and do not necessarily reflect the philosophy and policies of Norml. Listener discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think we need to think and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws presents Norml Show Live, Marijuana Nation. Now, here's your host, Norml's Outreach Coordinator, Radical Russ Belville.
Okay, well...
no, I'm sorry. I'm here today, Russ. How are you doing?
Apparently, I wasn't here. They'll only hear me on the replay because I did not have my mic turned on. But welcome back.
Oh, no.
Like I was saying at the beginning, I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants here. Did this long interview with Dr. Lester Grinspoon today, and the post-processing is still going on. So we'll get it in here toward the end of the show, but an extended version of Norml Show Live today. Let's get to the headlines, Carrie. What do we have in the news today?
Well, today we've got some news about more legalization petitions that are going up all over the nation. That's exciting to tell you guys about. Also, medical marijuana regulations filed in California today. We're going to tell you about some protesters, or not protesters, but some signature gatherers that were issued some citations and what activist groups are doing about that. And we've got some world news as well with a Polish lawmaker who threatened to light up in Parliament today. We'll tell you all about that coming up.
All right. Sounds like some interesting news. Also on today's show, it's Rockin' Friday. So we've got Herb Thrasher, who'll be calling in a little bit later, about 20 after the hour here. He's got some music from Melodramas and a song called Fly Away, plus some breaking news about the band Melodramas. Of course, today also we have the Norml Rocks with Herb Thrasher show taking place at 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern Time, where we play an hour of the best of stoner rock. So you want to check that out. Also on today's editions of Norml Show Live, we've got some other great shows coming up later on in the podcast. We've got the Highcast, THC, the Highcast, will be coming on at the, I believe that's at the 7 o'clock hour. And before that, we've got Hemp Radio with Candace Hawes from Orange County, California, and OC Norml. So check it all out. It's the Norml Network, where we're 420, 24/7, 365. We're back with the news right after this.
You're listening to Norml Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Weedmaps.com. I'm Radical Russ from Norml. In my job as outreach coordinator, I travel every month, and when I'm on the road, I need a fast, accurate way to find the medical marijuana dispensaries in the area. So I turn to Weedmaps.com. Weedmaps.com has the best dispensary locator online or on your mobile device. Search by zip code or let Weedmaps find you, and in seconds you'll have the addresses, phone numbers, and customer service reviews for the medical marijuana dispensaries in the local area. Weedmaps.com also has a section devoted to helping you find a doctor who understands and recommends medical marijuana under your state's law. You can even check prices on the Medical Marijuana Stock Exchange. Coming soon, you'll even be able to find the listings of Norml attorneys and chapters, local head shops and grow shops, and the best weed-friendly businesses. Weedmaps.com has the information you need to be an informed cannabis consumer. Visit Weedmaps.com today, a proud sponsor of the Norml Network.
Inhaling deeply of the sacred smoke.
Russ Belville. Yeah, he's a scurvy dog.
Hi, I'm Radical Russ. One of the best things about marijuana is the wonderful aroma. But when you travel a lot like I do, that aroma becomes a suspicious smell. That's why I endorse Stealth-Products.com, the leaders in smell-proof containers. From smell-proof vacuum bags to smell-proof backpacks and duffel bags, all the way to smell-proof digital safes, Stealth-Products.com has you covered. Stealth-Products.com brings you safe, secure, odorless layers of protection with activated carbon fiber. Backpacks and duffel bags are simple black so as not to attract attention with a logo or flashy design. Now, nothing is perfectly odor controlled from the detection of drug dogs, but with proper vigilance, containers from Stealth-Products.com will help you avoid nosy humans.
You're now listening to Illit Beats.
Stealth-Products.com. Stealth-Products.com.
Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, consumer cannabis. It's time for this week's Norml News with Cannabis Carrie.
A cannabis activist group from Missouri is protesting the citation of a couple of volunteer petition gatherers who were collecting signatures for the Show Me Cannabis Regulation Initiative. The volunteers say that they were detained by St. Charles police shortly after midnight while they were collecting signatures over the weekend. An attorney who is representing both of the signature gatherers is questioning what ordinance was violated since collecting signatures is a First Amendment right. Attorney David Rowland said that his clients were charged with soliciting without a permit. He is asking that the St. Charles police force drop the charges, return the petitions that were confiscated, and destroy all of the copies that were made of them. A St. Charles police official told the Riverfront Times that the matter is under investigation and they wouldn't comment any further. Show Me Cannabis Regulation is a ballot initiative to decriminalize cannabis possession and use of by adults in Missouri. The group behind the effort is hoping to collect 150,000 signatures to secure a spot on the November ballot. It is largely a grassroots movement and is relying on volunteers to do most of the work. Show Me Cannabis Regulation's St. Louis Regional Director John Payne released a statement from the group saying that the two volunteers were soliciting nothing, that they were asking people to sign their petition for the legalization and subsequent government regulation of cannabis in Missouri. The statement also said that the right to petition our government is the most fundamental right we possess as Americans and is part of the foundation of Republican government. These citations will not deter us from exercising that right, he said. A group of cannabis regulation activists are planning on engaging in a peaceful protest against the two volunteers being cited by the St. Charles police. So they will be canvassing the intersection of Main and Monroe in St. Charles this evening, starting at 9:30 p.m. Volunteers have been working the downtown area of St. Charles on late weekend nights since the beginning of the month without incident. They are trying to engage the younger voters that frequent the bars in the area. The Missouri Civil Liberties Association is also considering pursuing a civil suit in the matter against the city of St. Charles for violating the rights of citizens to petition their government for redress of grievances on behalf of the two volunteers.
You know, we're going to speak with John Payne a little bit later in hour 2 on today's show. Our own Trickster Phillips in the chat room has helped set this up. We're going to bring you the breaking news on this protest right from the protesters themselves and help get some more activism going on there in Missouri. The Show Me Cannabis legalization is a very important movement because, you know, we're going to have legalization efforts in California and Washington and Colorado and Massachusetts, and, you know, people are going to expect it there. But out of Missouri, if we can make a big push in Missouri, that's going to really turn the tide toward getting marijuana legalization everywhere in this country.
And in California, the medical marijuana advocacy group, the Americans for Safe Access, have filed with the Secretary of State the California Medical Marijuana Regulation, Control, and Taxation Act. Along with the ASA, UFCW Local 5 and the California Attorney General are calling for a uniform statewide policy that would oversee the medical marijuana industry. California enjoys about a 70% support of medical marijuana, but many Californians would like to see a reform of the current system, mostly to ensure that patients can continue to have safe access to medical marijuana, but with stronger, more clear and uniform rules that would govern from border to border. Even prestigious medical groups like the California Medical Association have called for regulations. If passed, the California Medical Marijuana Regulation and Control Taxation Act would establish a Bureau of Medical Marijuana Enforcement that would be under the Department of Consumer Affairs. They also regulate the California Medical Board and the Pharmacy Board. They would put forth a more stringent law against fraudulent physician recommendations, establish a 2.5% tax on sales to fund the new bureau, and allocate any surplus to fund emergency medical services and low-income assistance for health services and research into environmentally sound cultivation practices. The new policy would mandate state registration for anyone growing, possessing, or distributing medical marijuana for use by others. They would prohibit cities and communities from banning medical marijuana businesses, but they could do it by a citizen vote. The group has a website and is lining up financial support from the advocacy, patient, and medical community to help qualify this initiative for the November 2012 ballot. You can learn more about their effort at regulatemedicalmarijuana.org.
Boy, it's really difficult to react to this because on the one hand, you want to see us moving forward and adding more protections to folks that are using cannabis for medicinal purposes. But on the other hand, regulation, giving the localities the power to be able to ban dispensaries if the people vote on it. I mean, okay, so you're protecting us from a renegade city council doing that, but in a lot of places where there's going to be a majority, say, conservative type folks that don't like it, they'll be able to put together a citizen's vote and be able to ban those dispensaries. And why should we give them that power? Why should our rights be dictated by the majority that might not like it? It just seems to me that we continue to dance around the edges of this. We continue to tinker around with medical cannabis, and I know that's, you know, Americans for Safe Access. That's their whole motto. That's exactly what they're supposed to be doing. But you know, it's not going to work. We're eventually just going to have to legalize it for all people. The longer we continue trying to divide who's healthy enough to throw in a cage from who's sick enough to protect with these laws, the more arcane and difficult and restrictive these laws are going to become. Let's just legalize it.
And Michigan activists pushed their campaign forward today to try and amend the state constitution to legalize marijuana in their state as they began to collect signatures. The Committee for a Safer Michigan, a Detroit-based group, is sponsoring the bill that, if passed, they say would allow law enforcement to focus their resources on violent criminals and other safety threats. It would also end the prohibition of the use, sales, and cultivation of marijuana for those over 21. Activists say that legalization might be the only way to protect the medical marijuana patients of Michigan. The Michigan Medical Marijuana Act that was passed by voters in 2008 has been under attack by the Michigan Attorney General Bill Schuette. Since taking office last year, he has been working to shut down clinics and dispensaries and has taken a hard stance by prosecuting medical marijuana patients in the state, according to activists. But they say that the tough stance of the Attorney General has led to the enthusiasm of many activists to go for full legalization bill and an amendment to the state constitution at that. For more information and how to find out to volunteer to collect signatures, you can visit repealtoday.org.
And I believe one of our Norml Legal Committee attorneys, Matt Abel's involved with that, and a lot of Norml activists in Michigan are getting involved. You can go to michigannormal.org if you want to get involved. Michigan's a great state as far as how the Norml chapters are set up. They have sub-chapter liaisons. They're trying to have them in all 88 Michigan counties. I believe they got 37 of them so far. If you'd like to get involved, just check out minormal.org. I think it's minormal, either that or michigannormal.org. Check our website at normal.org/chapters, and you'll be able to find it. Is it minormal.org? Okay. And also, it's good to see that this is the reaction to an attorney general who's, trying to shut down medical marijuana in that state. That is the proper reaction. If, we pass a medical marijuana law, and that's not good enough for them, and it's not good enough for us, it's time to take that energy and work toward full legalization, once again, for all people.
And in some world cannabis news today, in Poland, the leader of a new left-wing party threatened to light up a joint in Parliament in Warsaw today. Juanez Polakot is trying to get soft drugs like cannabis legalized, among other liberal ideals in his rather conservative country. Polakot wants to decriminalize small amounts of cannabis in his country, so as his party leader, he announced his plan to light up some marijuana right in Parliament doors. But his plan was criticized by the Parliament Speaker, Ewa Kapaz, who publicly vowed that she would not allow him to break any laws inside Parliament walls and had prosecutors on hand to make an arrest if he pulled such a stunt. In the end, Polakot lit some marijuana-smelling incense that he purchased legally in a smoke shop to avoid getting arrested in session. After the incense was burning, Polakot introduced a draft law for cannabis decriminalization. Although his Liberal Party has been making waves and media stories, Polakot's bill has little chance of passing. His party won just 10% of the votes in October elections, but making it the third largest party in Parliament, but still lacking critical votes to make any sweeping law changes. The party also supports gay rights and is fighting to liberalize the country's strict abortion laws. The party is also against the heavy-handed influence of the Catholic Church in Poland and has petitioned to remove the Christian cross that hangs in Parliament. Prosecutors that were on hand this morning during the incense burning have opened an investigation into whether Polakot broke a law on the books against promoting or advertising drugs, even with his threat to smoke cannabis in Parliament. The crime carries up to a year in prison. No charges have been filed yet, but we will keep you posted.
Wow, a year in prison just for threatening to smoke weed. Wow, well, a pretty strict law there. But if we have any listeners out there in Poland, if you'd like to get involved with ending marijuana prohibition, send me an email at stash@norml.org. We've got international chapters of Norml, and we'd like to have more of them. There's Norml Norway. We've got Norml in Spain, Norml España. There's a great Norml South Africa. In fact, speaking of Norml South Africa, next week we'll be speaking with Emil Visser from Norml South Africa to give us an update on what's happening there in their marijuana law reforms. Norml Australia is going strong, and of course Norml New Zealand is one of our best international chapters. We've got so much activism coming from them, and if you check out our Norml Video Lunch and Marijuana Activism show, you'll be able to see some videos from those New Zealand chapters and some of the activism they're involved with. Also in my mailbag today, I got an email from someone who is looking to start Norml Ireland, and I would really like to see that happen. So if you know someone in a foreign country that's interested in getting involved with Norml, please have them send me an email at, again, stash@norml.org, and we can get that information out to them. If you want to know what it takes to start a Norml chapter, send an email, just a blank email, to start@norml.org, and it will auto-reply with all the application instructions, sample bylaws, and everything you need for the information for getting started. This all starts with you. Marijuana activism is a grassroots effort. We need your help. Send me an email, stash@norml.org. Also, in other news today, we got a great story coming out of CalCoastNews.com. 6 more medical marijuana cases have been dismissed. After more than a year of courtroom hearings, the San Luis Obispo County District Attorney's Office told the court it could not move ahead with its cases against 6 of the dozen arrested in 2010 for selling medical marijuana. Superior Court Judge Barry LaBarbera on Tuesday dismissed the cases against Christopher and Amy Austin, David and Valerie Hosking, Stephen Gordon, and Thomas Sandercock. The court had previously dropped charges against 3 of the 12 defendants. In December of 2010, the now-defunct San Luis Obispo County Narcotic Task Force, I love saying that, the now-defunct Narcotics Task Force, said that those running pot delivery services were violating California's Marijuana Compassionate Use Act and medical marijuana program by transporting and selling marijuana illegally throughout San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Monterey counties. At least 6 agencies and 50 agents participated in the investigation and arrests of 15 people. Good to know that our law enforcement resources are so well spent in California. During the arrests, one man suffered a heart attack. Guns were held to the heads of children as they were dragged from their beds. Family pets were kicked. Grandparents were handcuffed and forced to lie on the floor. And children were removed from their parents' custody, multiple sources said. The prosecution said it could not move forward with the case because of a set of jury instructions that allowed the defendants to contend they thought the undercover officer was part of their medical marijuana collectives. Prosecutors said allowing the collective defense would have made their case hard to win. Oh, too bad for those. Oh, yes. Make too tough for you to throw patients in jail, caregivers in jail if they're allowed to actually tell the truth about what they're doing, if they're allowed to actually let the people know that it was medical in nature. Oh, you poor things. I feel so terrible for you. This once again just shows why we need to move forward with full-on marijuana legalization because of sneaky, underhanded tactics and prosecutors who are always going to try to throw people in jail for pot. Hey, I turned to my right and I looked over here and what do you know? It's Ganja John.
What do you know?
How
What do you
doing?
think about a break, man?
I think I need a break. It's been a disaster so far, but we're going to recover, I swear. Back
It's
after
20
this.
after the hour. And we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support Norml Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would say to South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
I'm Sub Cool from Team Green Avenger. At TGAgenetics.com, we are working on the leading edge of medical strains. Our strains are rigorously tested for THC, CBD, THCV, and other critical cannabinoids. Know your grow. Check out our genetic diversity at TGAgenetics.com, the home of Jelly Bean, Jack the Ripper, Vortex, and other award-winning cannabis strains.
Hi, this is Alan St. Pierre, Executive Director of Norml. This year, the Drug Czar's office has a $60 million budget for advertising their Reefer Madness propaganda. We here at Norml don't have that kind of money, but we've got 2 weapons for fighting back. Your donations and the truth. Please, make a donation to Norml so we can continue to expand this podcast and our other media campaigns. Even a donation of $4.20 can help. Visit us on the web at norml.org or call toll-free 888-67-NORML, NORML. Thank you for caring and sharing.
When I smoke it, satisfaction guaranteed.
It's time for your daily Toker Tunes, the best in 420 friendly music from all genres that uplifts, entertains, and informs the public. Today, we take you into the weekend with Rockin' Friday. Our segment features the best of rock, metal, punk, and jam band music. If you'd like to submit your song to be played on Norml Show Live, send it to us at stash@norml.org. Now here's some more great independent marijuana music for today's Daily Toker Tune.
I guess I shouldn't have unmuted so quickly. Hey, we got Herb Thrasher on the line for Rockin' Friday. What's happening, Herb?
Not much, man. What's going on? I see you figuring out your mute button.
I started the show. I've been doing that Dr. Grinspoon interview and going back and forth between the 2 PCs, and I forgot to put my mic back into the main mix. But we're here now, so we'll make the best of it.
Well, don't worry, guys. Tonight I'll be watching him for Norml Rock, so I'll make sure he has the mute button off.
Yeah, what do we got coming forward on Norml Rocks tonight at 8 o'clock?
Dude, we got a great show, man. We got, you guys might have heard of this magazine called High Times Magazine, and Bobby Black from High Times. He's senior editor and columnist from High Times. He's been with them probably 17, 18 years now. And we're going to talk with him, man. He's got a lot of stuff going on. You know, they've been doing the medical cannabis cups in certain states, and then they just did Amsterdam, and they have one coming up in L.A., so we're going to talk about that. And he's thrown his name in to be a representative to run for the 99% Declaration movement. So we're going to talk to him about that and just see what's going on. He's a total rocker, and he's probably been, you know, leading the cannabis movement for rock in the magazine for years. So we'll talk some music and just have a good conversation with him.
Right on. How about
just other rock songs?
Yeah. How about the bands tonight that we're playing?
Yeah, we'll play some Melodramas, which we're about to play a song from them now. And I think tonight we'll probably do a double shot of Melodramas and in honor of them. And then we've got a few shows coming up here in the next couple of weeks that Norml Rocks is going to go to. And we're going to play those bands, and I'll wait till play it tonight to leave a little bit of surprise. And just another good rock, man.
All right. Now, do you have any breaking news on Melodramas that we can report yet, or is it still on the download?
It does seem, and I will tell a little bit about it. You know, I don't know too much, so I hate to go off and start acting like I do know a lot about it. But Melodramas, we've had them on before. They're a band out of Utah, progressive kind of rock metal band. Great guys, 3-piece band, and they were actually supposed to be in town tonight in Portland, and we was going to go and interview them and film their show, and so we can do a couple songs like we like to film. And I got word from their manager that they have now split. It seems like, you know, something's happened, and I don't know what's happened. It's hard times, man. Bands have it tough. You know, people can't get jobs, and the same things for bands. You know, everyone thinks they're all rich, and they're not, and they have the same everyday problems that everyone does, and it seems like it might have caught Melodramas. The good news out of it is that they have a new drummer, and they're going to be announcing him soon, and they told me that they would let us know as soon as possible, and we'll be able to announce it on the show. But, you know, they're just a great band, man, and we love them. They're total supporters of this movement. They got in touch with me. I didn't, you know, most of the bands that you guys hear on Rockin' Friday or Norml Rocks, I'm finding them. I know who they are, and I'm searching them. But Melodramas, you know, there's a couple bands that have gotten through, and they've sought us out because they knew Norml for some reason or whatever. They saw me tweeting. But anyways, they got in touch with me. And to me, you know, that says something, you know. When you're a band out there searching for the movement and the freedom, then that's something. So just support these guys. If I was you guys, I would go to their Facebook page. They have a free album. You can download their whole album for free, or you can name their price. And I've always recommended, you know, $4.20. I mean, I don't think that's too much, and you know, it helps the bands out a little bit. But it's also free, and so go there. And this song that we're about to play now, "Fly Away," is on the album that's for free. And so you guys can go check that out. It's called 30 Silver Pieces. And the song "Fly Away" is it's one of my favorite songs in a long time. I'm a huge Styx, Tommy Shaw fan, and I've always gotten Tommy Shaw out of this, and it's just always hit my heart. And I hope it does your guys too. So check in with Norml Rocks tonight, 8 o'clock on the Norml Network. Support these bands out here, support freedom, and Melodramas. We appreciate everything, dude. You guys keep rocking.
All right, this is Melodramas.
Happy weekend.
With "Fly Away."
Fix this mess you shame, masking everything around. Lies, honesty runs red. Yeah, fear inside and then it's time to understand. If I could fly away, would you follow me? Fix these broken wings and fly. Yeah, if I could fly away, would you follow me? Fix these broken wings and I'm so close to heaven, but so far from you. Desert fields in my head again. Can we start anew? Every time you say that you'll see the light, darkness fills your head again. Justify your blind. If I could fly away, would you follow me? If I could fly away, would you follow me? Fix these broken wings and
Starfish Designs, makers of the original Gandalf.
I'm Radical Russ, and when I want to relax, I always have my 17-inch long original Gandalf from Starfish Designs nearby. The hand-blown borosilicate glass is strong and easy to clean, and the design is sleek and sophisticated. Starfish Designs are available from Bend, Oregon at a glass retailer near you. For locations, call 541-788-GLASS. That's 541-788-4527.
Warning. Neil deGrasse Tyson may grab you off the street at any minute.
I know that the molecules in my body are traceable to phenomenon in the cosmos. That makes me want to grab people in the street and say, have you heard this?
This is Norml Show Live.
The atoms that go into it, but the way those atoms are put together.
This is Norml Show Live.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years. They've got mandatory sentences, and these judges just say, they throw up their hands and say, there's nothing we can do. There's mandatory sentences. We've got to take a look at what we're considering crimes.
When the Reverend Pat Robertson from television's The 700 Club
Criminalizing marijuana, criminalizing the possession of a few ounces of pot and that kind of thing. I mean, it's just...
makes more sense on the marijuana issue than the President, the Congress, and the Supreme Court.
It's costing us a fortune, and it's ruining young people. The young people go into prisons, they come out, they go in as youths, and they come out as hardened criminals, and it's not a good thing.
You know we're winning.
Legalization, decriminalization, lowest law enforcement priority, medical marijuana, ganja sacrament, consumer cannabis, industrial hemp. The world of marijuana law reform involves many different aspects of cannabis that interact nearly every public policy discussion in America, including healthcare, the economy, global climate change, law enforcement and prisons, immigration, religion, free speech, energy policy, and war. Now, we take a look at how re-legalizing marijuana will change the world in our Norml Show Live Cannabis Conversations.
All right, welcome back, everybody. 34 after the hour, and I recorded an interview earlier today with Dr. Lester Grinspoon, and I have found out that the software that I have downloaded takes far too long to process it to be able to get it in the same day. I should have scheduled this for Monday, and I might even replay it on the second hour Monday. So I want to apologize first off for what you're going to see on the video quality, because I'm having to play this off the computer over the cam, unfortunately. But the audio is still good, and I think it's well worth listening to. So we're going to turn over now to an extended version, an extended interview with Dr. Lester Grinspoon. All right, everybody, welcome back. We are so happy to be joined today by Dr. Lester Grinspoon. He's an associate professor emeritus of psychiatry at the Harvard Medical School, and of course, a well-known figure in marijuana activism. He started his look at marijuana in the 1960s with the book Marijuana Reconsidered, also followed by Psychedelic Drugs Reconsidered, Marijuana the Forbidden Medicine, and Psychedelic Reflections. Dr. Grinspoon, thank you so much for joining us on Norml Show Live.
My pleasure.
Well, I wanted to bring you here on the show today because, of course, you've been involved with medical marijuana and the movement and the studies involving that have pushed it to a greater political understanding than it ever has been before. We're up to now 16 states in the District of Columbia that have some form of legislation that recognizes the medicinal uses of cannabis. Giving this long look over the past 4 or 5 decades, what do you see in the development of medical marijuana that pleases you? And are there any developments that have you concerned?
Well, it pleases me immensely because, as you mentioned, I started to work on marijuana coming from a position that it was a terribly dangerous drug. And I wanted people to take the government seriously when they said that. So I had some unscheduled time, went into the Countway Library. And the final point, that in 1971, it came out as a book, Marijuana Reconsidered. Now, the person who had to reconsider was me, because I discovered that just about like everybody else in the country, I had been brainwashed. And I came to the conclusion that not only that it didn't make any sense to say that marijuana should be prohibited, because, in fact, the most dangerous thing about the prohibition was the fact that we were arresting about 300,000 people at that time. Now it's up to somewhere between 800 and 900,000, depending on what recent year you look at. That was the danger. The danger didn't reside in any inherent psychopharmacological property of the drug, but the way we as a society were treating it. Now, at that time, I just understood marijuana as a recreational drug. My best friend, Carl Sagan, smoked it a lot. And when I would tell him as his friend, the physician, his closest friend, a physician, you shouldn't do this, Carl. It's going to be it's terrible for your health. And, of course, Carl would, and then he'd say, what about him? He never took it seriously.
I'm just so jealous every time I hear you speak of Carl Sagan, because as a little kid, I was in all of these gifted and talented programs, and I took astronomy and such. And I think I was 12 years old when Dr. Sagan's Cosmos program was on PBS, and just captivated my imagination. And
in the imagination of people around the world.
Yeah, and to find out later in life, when I get involved with marijuana law reform, to find out that he was a fellow traveler of the road, and thought many of the same things I think about this amazing plant. I'm always jealous every time you talk about him.
Well, he was very interesting because when they'd come to town, once his picture was on Time magazine, there was no eating in a public dining room because it was awful. In that sense, that I understood what real celebrities had to deal with. Well, anyway, so we used to smoke in their suite or out here at my house or something. But one night we had dinner in town, and someone had people sent me little gifts of cannabis. some of the first Sensimilla. You remember that? That was a long time ago. And I tried it, and I thought, great. Well, when we had dinner, I said to Carl, I got these from California. They have this new Sensimilla. Don't have to worry about food. And we tried it, and I had a wonderful time. And then as we were saying goodbye that night, he said to me, Lester, I see you've got one more of those joints. I have to finish this last chapter. I forget for which book. It would be so helpful to me. This is so great. This would be so helpful to me. Could I possibly ask you, he's very polite, could I possibly ask you to give that to me for time? But that's a measure of, how much he felt it did for his work. I mean, in so many words. And it's also, he's a one-man refutation for anybody who thinks it compromises your work ethic. I mean, Carl was the hardest working person I've ever met in my life. And he was a pot smoker.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at any rate, to go on with it. So, originally I thought it was just a recreational drug, although in Marijuana Reconsidered, I had reviewed the literature from the 19th century, which was brought to my attention through reading Todd McNaria's book.
Sure.
And so I knew there was a 19th century. They didn't smoke it, of course, but there was a 19th century use of it. But I didn't think much, it was a liquid. It was hard to dispense. We didn't have bioassays in the 19th century. You didn't know how much of the stuff was in it. Fortunately, those doctors didn't have to worry about serious side effects. And so the problem was not so much overdosing as underdosing when you have to take it orally or, indeed the same thing is true with Satilix. But I didn't take it too seriously as a medicine until I had a personal experience, which I'm sure by now you know about, my son having acute lymphocytic leukemia and what it did for him. And that really opened my eyes. And I said, how many other children are going through this unnecessarily, this pernicious nausea and vomiting?
Well, this is a very important topic that we interview a lot of people about. We've interviewed Miko Hester Perez and other parents who are using cannabis to help treat childhood autism and other, epilepsy and other disorders. And here you were doing this back in the 1960s. Was there a lot of blowback, a lot of controversy involved in that?
Oh, there sure was.
Yeah.
But not from the people who were treating Danny. I mean, in fact, it came about because I was invited, when he got sick, Sidney Farber, who when I was a student at Harvard Medical was my professor of oncology. And when Danny got sick, I went to him and asked him if he would take care of Danny. And of course he did. Now, when he retired, a new man was selected for the post, and he was from Houston, Texas. And I was invited by a common friend to have dinner with him. And at dinner, he said he knew about, I didn't know how much of Marijuana Reconsidered he had read, but he read the chapter on medicine. He talked about that, and he said to me, I wonder if that would be useful for the nausea and vomiting of chemotherapy. And I said, well, of course, chemotherapeutics weren't invented then. It was a way of knowing, but it certainly is a good anti-nausea. And on the way home in the car, my wife, Betsy, said, shouldn't we get some marijuana for Danny? And I could believe, but I said, no, it's illegal. And mind you, I'd never used it. I'd never, at this time, I said, no, it's illegal, and we don't want to compromise the people at the Children's Hospital who are taking care of them. Well, the next time I went, my office was right next to the Children's Hospital. I'd meet Betsy and Danny when he'd come in for his chemotherapy. And usually when I walked into that room, his face was just ashen with anxiety, and Betsy was communicated to her, and very shortly I'd be looking the same way. And this time I came in, I said, "What's going on?" They were joking. They were having a joke on me. And so while we were, I said, "Hey, come on, let me in on it." They finally did. Betsy had gone out to the, you know the story, so well, just for your audience case, went up to the Wellesley High School parking lot, asked his friend to get a little bit of marijuana for her once he overcame his absolute amazement. Mrs. Grinspoon wanted a little marijuana. He came in, and the point is they smoked it out. They're not she, because both of us were marijuana virgins, but he had obviously had some experience with it. He smoked it out in the parking lot, and he got on the gurney that day, had the injection. Usually he got sick almost right away, and it was a race to get him home before he vomited in the car. He gets off the gurney and he says, "Hey, Mom, I noticed there's a sub shop on Brookline Avenue. Can we stop and get a sub?" And when he got home, he didn't want to go home. He wanted to go back to school. And from that time on, because we never had to suffer the greatest discomfort he had in that illness was the anxiety, the anticipatory anxiety of and the nausea and vomiting itself. And I started to think about that, and then in 1993, Jake Backlar and I wrote the first edition of Marijuana, and then in 1997 it came out, the larger edition. Now, so it's clear I'd gone from believing it was good very good as a recreational drug, and I was beginning to learn what an enormously important medicine it was going to be. Mm-hmm. That it would be, as I said then, eventually considered the wonder drug of our times. And then it was only, I started to smoke a year or two later, and I've been smoking ever since. I started at age 44, and I'm 83 now. And it's been a boon for me in terms of as a medicine, but it's also I've been very impressed with just what I observed in Carl Sagan. It can be an enhancer of ideas. Mm-hmm. I decided that this thing can help. It's not just ideas, but it can enhance a number of human capabilities. Not for everybody, but in fact, I have a website devoted to trying to help people to learn something from people who have found that it can be used as an enhancer. I find that I should say enhancement spiritual, because I think it's a whole area there. And I don't want to leave out the capacity for spirituality that it can help with. But at any rate, so now I think there are three broad areas of its usefulness. So but you asked me over the years, starting again with the publication of Marijuana Reconsidered, to get back to Carl, he and I used to read each other's manuscripts. And he read the manuscript for Marijuana Reconsidered. And he said to me, I really liked the book, Lester, but you made one big mistake. I said, "What was that?" You said the prohibition would be gone within 10 years. And I said, well, what's the problem? He said, "It's going to be gone within 2-3 years at the most."
Oh, my.
So as a prognosticator, I'm not very good.
This may be the only calculation that Carl Sagan ever messed up.
But so it's been, a strange experience. I mean, once I got to see what I learned about medical marijuana, especially as more patients got in touch with me, I got more and more experience. I decided to devote most of my time, once I became emeritus, to this very issue. Now, I'm glad that, needless to say, that marijuana as a medicine is becoming greatly, it's turning out to be a wonderful event. More and more people are learning about it, and we're learning about more and more symptoms and syndromes for which it is useful, and we're learning which cannabinoids and which terpenes and so forth may be. We're on the threshold of learning more than that we can do more than just say, get Harlequin because there are approximately equal parts of cannabidiol and THC. We're learning about the other cannabinoids. We're learning more about the terp and how to now collect data about which combination or ratios are best, not only for a particular symptom or syndrome, but also for a particular person. I mean, people differ. And so we're going to be able to do this if we can make the whole medical marijuana thing grow and not fall under the heels of Big Pharma, which is working very hard to be able to get something equivalent to the liquid marijuana that is known as Sativix. That is, if they can get it into a little white pill form, they'll get it through the FDA. And then that worries me because those people then put a lot of effort into sustaining the prohibition.
Sure.
Because they're not going to sell their things unless the prohibition stands.
Well,
so that's
something I did want to ask you about this, what I see and have commented on as an oncoming pharmaceuticalization of cannabis. We have all these companies that are trying to, we have patents on different cannabinoids. We have, GW Pharmaceuticals working on Sativix and so forth. And a lot of these manufacturers, when they bring up the benefits of how they would distribute this medicine, they point out that they would have, they'd guarantees of potency, purity, we'd know what dosage you're getting, et cetera. But one of the things they often tout is it wouldn't get you that high, as if that's something that's medically bad.
Yeah,
what about the medical utility of the high?
Yeah, exactly. I was so amused. I met Jeffrey Guy, who formed GW Pharmaceuticals, years ago in a conference in Cologne. And we got to know each other and a little bit. And he told me about, he had now, apparently he knew one of the premiers, I think, I can't remember, but got him an appointment with the Home Secretary. And he had persuaded the Home Secretary that he could produce a marijuana medicine that would completely negate the two dangerous properties of it. What were they? Getting high and lung damage. And, I thought, wow, getting high. The Home Secretary went for it. And, of course, they do that by putting a lot of CBD in their liquid marijuana. It's just anybody can do it. Just get some Harlequin, you can do the same thing. But at any rate, and it was then that I first used the word pharmaceuticalization, because I hadn't really thought about, the pharmaceutical company might move into this. And now, of course, they're moving millions of dollars into it. And, of course, not long ago, probably almost a year ago now, the DEA, I think it was, published in the Federal Register that it's not only that they moved, first in 1985 when they synthesized dronabinol, that was supposed to answer critics like me. We now have a marijuana medicine. It's dronabinol. Or what's it called, Marinol.
Right.
And you don't have to push for medical marijuana anymore. Well, of course, you know what happened with Marinol. It's summarized in my little experience with it. That is, in the experience I've had with people who have used it as a medicine and have also had the experience of using smoked or inhaled, vaporized marijuana. They much prefer the latter to the sativas. Why do they use sativas? It's legal in the countries they're in, and it soon will be here. And the same with dronabinol, Marinol. It's legal. And, of course, because it wasn't selling, the federals, when a drug company produces a new drug, it costs a lot of money. The developmental money is put up by the drug company because they're pretty sure they're not going to take a chance unless when they get the 20-year patent rights, when it's approved, they can charge whatever they want. And the dronabinol certainly sold, but not as much as, and it didn't take the place of it didn't suppress the clamoring for medical marijuana. So the government moved it from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2. Now it's the same 21 carbon molecule as the one that's in natural marijuana, but this one could be in Schedule 2, and then some years later they moved it to Schedule 3. I mean, speak of the hypocrisy of that. So now, the guy in this thing that appeared in the Federal Register, the DEA is talking about giving permission for the drug companies to take any moiety, any part of the naturally grown thing, and put it into a pharmaceutical product, and it'll be in a schedule that will allow it to be sold, like 3 or 4 or what have you. So, then I really became worried about pharmaceuticalization, because then those guys are going to have, a lot of what people can have for themselves if they just get somebody or get access to strains that have the particular ratios of the things they need. For most things, you can just go out and buy some marijuana and it will deal with your Crohn's disease. But there may be better approaches to it that allow you to take less. If you don't like to get high because you have to take it when you work and so forth, you can take a large dose of CBD. It could have a high CBD to THC ratio and so forth and so on. All these things. In other words, I remember saying before that the drug companies won't finally be successful because ultimately the gold standard, which is vaporized or smoked or even ingested marijuana, is the gold standard. And unless they can beat the gold standard and also compete price-wise with plain marijuana, with just the dope you and I are acquainted with, they're not going to succeed. So it worries me now, and there are some things about the way medical marijuana is going that disturb me. When the book first came out, that book, I remember the first letter, I got a letter with regard to Marijuana Reconsidered, and the first letter, I can remember every word of it, was just one sentence with a semicolon. You dirty Harvard doctor, you did it because you wanted to make money. No salutation, no signature. And then, now the first email I got about marijuana and forbidden medicine, it was longer, I can't remember, but the gist was that I was being very Machiavellian, that I had written this book so it would act as the Trojan horse to get what I really wanted, which is the end of prohibition. And I laughed at that as we are now, but the fact of the matter is, the Gallup poll is now up to 50% in this country, and that was a few months ago. It's going up exponentially, apparently. We're going to get this defeat of prohibition. But in the meantime, it worries me that, there are some people in the industry, I think, who are going to see that without the prohibition, they're going to be in the same position as these pharmaceutical companies if they develop it. It reminds me of just after Marijuana Reconsidered came out, within a year or two, I was asked to give a talk in Toronto on it. And it just so happens that Carl we learned, was also going to give a talk that week. So we and our wives went up to Toronto together. And because there was some coverage of what I was going to say, it was in the newspaper. And because it was in the newspaper, one of the people, young men...
We'll come back with more coverage of our interview with Dr. Lester Grinspoon. For now, we've got to call it a show, so thank you for joining us here on Norml Show Live. Voice of the Marijuana Nation. Those of you that are going to stick around for hour 2, we will conclude the interview with Dr. Lester Grinspoon, and we will get the video processing done and have the full video up online at our YouTube channel and for viewing at our blog, stash.norml.org. For Cannabis Carrie and Ganja John, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us for hour 1. Hour 2 is next, and until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is Norml Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
Take it on one more time. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it.